Puppet is communicating. So it definitely uses protocol, but in the case of Ansible, it uses SSH protocol or SSH communication to communicate the nodes. And another thing is, like most of this communication, in the case of Chef and Puppet, it will happen only once at the when the particular nodes are coming up. After that, the nodes will be communicating to the server. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, Ansible is a push-based configuration management tool, not pull-based configuration management tool. So in the case of Ansible, the server will be pushing the configuration information to the nodes, compared to Chef and Puppet, where the nodes will be pulling from the server. Okay, so Ansible server need not be running all the time. Like now in the case of Chef and Puppet, since constant polling is happening, your server should always be running, right? Otherwise, there is no machine from which the nodes can pull the configuration. So in the case of Chef and Puppet, you will have to have your server always running, but that is not the case with Ansible. In the case of Ansible, there is no need to have a server running all the time, because whenever it is required, the server can come up and push the changes to the nodes, and then it can go. Okay, so this is very important. So this is one of the major difference between Chef and Puppet. That's why we are saying Ansible is more efficient, because in the case of Chef or Puppet, you will have to manage one server on its own. You will have to manage one system which will act as only as a server, but that is not the case with Ansible. So since Ansible servers can come up and go, your Ansible server can be a Docker container too. Like when you want, you can spring up that container, execute the command, and just terminate that container. Okay. Then, like in the case of Chef or Puppet, Ansible also is an idempotent tool. So basically, if you are executing, say, two commands, say same command twice, then there won't be any difference. It will be only executed the very first time. So now, Vivek wants me to explain the last statement. Okay, see, Vivek, as I mentioned, Ansible is a push-based configuration management tool, and Chef is a pull-based configuration management tool, right? Chef and Puppet. So in the case of Chef and Puppet, there will be a server, and your nodes will be constantly polling that server and pulling the configuration information from that server, right? Like periodically, like every 30 minutes and all, your nodes will be polling that server. So that means your server should always be running. As long as your nodes are running, your server should also be running, Chef and Puppet. It can't go down, because if after say 30 minutes, if the node is trying to poll the server and the server is not there, means the whole thing will break. Okay, so that means your Chef or Puppet server should always be running to serve the nodes. But in the case of Ansible, since there is no polling and the server is pushing the changes, that there is no need for you to maintain a server 24/7. Because whenever you need to execute some commands, you can spring up the server, execute the command on the nodes, and then remove that server. You only need the files, Ansible files that you need, but that can be in your local machine. There is no need to have a separate server to keep that file. It will be like having a text, having a folder in your machine and using that folder to manage your nodes. Is it clear, Vivek? Okay. Now idempotent BSO. Now Ansible, it's clean. It has no agents, no database, no residual software, no complex upgrades. Nothing is required in the case of Ansible. It just uses SSH. And one more thing is, even though the node doesn't need any agents installed, they should have Python installed. So the nodes should have Python installed in the case of Ansible. There is no agent required, but the Python software should be there in the nodes. Okay. Now Ansible is written in Python, whereas Chef and Puppet is written in Ruby. Okay. Now there is something called YAML, which stands for yet another markup language. So this is a language that is being used for Ansible execution. So no programming language required. It is not a markup language. There is no tags and all. It is a structured language, and it is easy to read and write. Like you'll be able to write your code, so write your configuration information like how you write English language. Okay, so now Akhil is asking, so in this case, if you remove server, only mapping is happening from the file which we can have in local. Exactly, Akhil. So whenever you are in need of a server, you can map the folder to that server or folder to any server, and that server will act as the Ansible server. Okay, is it clear, Akhil? Now Prashant is asking, what is the full form of YAML? Prashant, it's the full form is yet another markup language. Yet another markup language. YAML. Okay. Now, when you are working with YAML, there are some things you need to keep in mind. Like you should be very careful with your white spaces. So comments will start with a hash, and in YAML, or the extension for YAML files are .yml files. So in this YAML files, the indents will be identified with the help of space. So if you have say two space, that is one indent. Okay, then white space helps readability. And one more thing, like if you miss any indentation or if you miss any space, then you may get error. So make sure that the indentation you should always keep the same. Like those items that are in the same level, it should have the same indentation. And those items that are in the sub level for those first level items, it should be in the next indentation. So that indentation is very important in the case of YAML. Then as best practice, you should add blank lines before variables, roles, task handlers. We'll see what those are. So this is an example of an YAML playbook or YAML file. So Virendra is saying he just joined. Virendra, we are talking about Ansible. Ansible is a configuration, is another configuration management tool, and it is a push-based configuration management tool. So we are talking about that. Okay. So YAML is a language that you will be using to work with Ansible. So this is how an Ansible playbook will look like, and you can see the space and indentation. These spaces will act as indentation, so it should be well structured. It should look well structured like this, so that it is easily readable. Then those sub level items, you will be able to add more indentations and all, and you will be able to use spaces for readability. And also you'll be using say hash for comments. Okay, so we'll see more about playbooks later on. Okay, so now one more thing that you have to keep in mind is that the Ansible server cannot be a Windows machine. So if you need to use Ansible, the Ansible server should use say it should have Linux or Unix or Mac, like star Nix. Okay, so and another thing is you will need Python 2.6 or above. 2.6, like it will work with Python 3.5 or greater, or 2.6 or greator. So one thing you have to keep in mind is that it won't work with Python 3. So Python 3 is not supported, but Python 2.6 and greater and Python 3.5 and greater will work. Okay, and here the important thing that you have to notice that Ansible server cannot be a Windows machine. So if you want to have an Ansible server, it should be a Unix machine or Linux or Mac machine. It can't be a Windows machine. Okay, now the nodes or remote server can be any machine. It can be Windows machine, it can be Unix, it can be Linux, or it can be Mac. So only thing is it should have Python installed, and in the case of Windows, it will use remote PowerShell. It should have remote PowerShell enabled for SSH access, and in the case of Unix, Linux, and Mac, it should have SSH access. Okay, now Ansible architecture. Okay, so in the case of Ansible architecture, it is pretty simple. In the when you have Ansible architecture, so you have your management node, which is your Ansible server. And inside your Ansible server, you have your files like host, playbooks, modules. We'll see what those are. Then host is just inventory. So we'll have those files in the manager node or the Ansible server. And you will have your nodes, which doesn't have any daemon running. And this manager node or the server will be communicating with the nodes via SSH. Okay, and this communication will happen parallelly. Like if you have say 5 nodes, and if you want to configure 5 nodes, the configuring all those 5 nodes will happen parallelly. Like multiple multiple configurations can happen at the same time and all. So it will happen parallelly. So security of the SSH communication you will have to ensure. So since there is only one protocol in which the management node is communicating with the nodes, you will have to ensure the security of that SSH communication. So you will need to ensure that only the Ansible server can talk to the nodes. The execution on the nodes will happen in parallel. So you need to enable the security for the SSH communication that comes under your responsibility. Okay, so there is like architecture for Ansible is pretty simple. You will have one server and you will have your nodes. Okay, so now we'll see some terminologies in Vivek is asking, so management node is the server. Yes, Vivek, management node is the Ansible server. Or basically it's a node which is used to manage the nodes, or which is the machine that is used to manage your nodes. Okay, so these are some terminologies like module. Then module is a programmed unit of work to be done. It is like say install a package, that can be a module. Then there is something called play, which is a single task from a module executed on a host or set of hosts. So play is like a recipe, like you have in your chef you have recipe, right? Similar to that, you have play in Ansible. So it is like a single task from a module. So you will have your modules, then out of from your module you have one task, and that task will be termed as play. Okay, and that play can be executed on a host or a set of hosts, on a single host or a set of hosts. Next is playbook. Playbook is a set of plays built in specific order sequence to produce an expected outcome or outcomes. So basically, playbooks is like a collection of plays, or it is like a cookbook in the case of a chef. Okay, so it is like a collection of plays. So playbook is a collection of plays. It is similar to cookbooks in chef. And when you're talking about a task, it is something like a resource. Like when we are talking about say Puppet and Chef, we saw about resource, right? So yeah, a task can be considered as a resource. Basically one action can be considered as a task. Okay, so there are some more terminals like playbook, one or more plays it can have. Then each play in turn is responsible for mapping tasks to group of hosts. Then tasks are typically calls to Ansible module. So like you can have one task as one module. Like if you want to execute a module, then your task can be called to that particular module. So there are different ways in which you can have your task. Okay, then plays, a playbook is a list or collection of plays. A play is minimally a mapping between a set of um, tasks, and the tasks which will run on those hosts to define the role that those system will perform. So plays basically is refers to set of tasks. Okay, now task is like playbook exists to run tasks. Task combine an action like a module and its argument with a name. So in this particular case, like in this case, you have your host, and here you have your task, and which is the ping action. The action is ping, so it will call this ping module. We'll see about ping module and all in the upcoming session. Just understand these terminologies. Okay, now modules are the units of work that Ansible ships out to remote machines. Like in the case of recipes, you have modules in Ansible, and these are the units of work that will be shipped, that will be SSH when the management server establishes a SSH communication with the nodes. It will be shipping out these modules to those nodes and executing those modules. Okay, then roles are similar to chef and pub, like roles are units of organization in Ansible. Then facts are simply things that are discovered about remote nodes. Now in the case of chef and puppet, you have tools like Ohi, Factor, etc. to collect facts, right? And this will be executed every time the agent is executed, right? But in the case of Ansible, since there are no agents, whenever you execute an Ansible command, whenever you execute an Ansible command via SSH, at that time it will automatically collect facts. Okay, so it is like Ohi or Factor of Chef and Puppet. So instead of being executed when the agent runs, since Ansible doesn't have any agent, this will be executed whenever the Ansible command is executed on the node. Okay, So you never have to call the, like, it is, in order to collect these facts, Ansible uses one module called setup, and you never have to call the setup module explicitly. It just runs like, but there are ways in which, like, there are ways in which you will be able to specify, okay, if you don't want to gather any facts, then you can specify, okay, I don't want to gather any facts in this particular playbook. Like that, you will be able to mention. But the module that is being used to gather this fact is called setup module. This is a setup module. Okay, and setup module, when you execute, or when the setup module is executed, at that time you will get a lot of items, like you will get a lot of details, including the operating system, the kernel, all those details you will get, network, all those details you will get. So from that, if you want to get a particular subset, or if you only want to get a particular items from that, and then we will be using a command, or parameter, or key called gather underscore subset, and after that you will give the option which you want to gather. Okay, so this is like filtering. This is like adding a filter to your factor output, or getting the factor, so getting the facts. Okay, now there is something called rolling updates. Okay, so the act of addressing a number of nodes in a group of n at a time to avoid updating them at once and bringing the system offline is called rolling update. Okay, so now let's say you have, say, 10 machines. You have 10 nodes. So instead of, when you are like, since Ansible implements the configuration management in parallel, if you are adding, say, 10 items, or 10, if you are executing Ansible command on 10 machines, so all those 10 nodes, then while at the time of configuring, the system may be down. So all those 10 nodes will be down, and your service to the customer will be disrupted. So in order to avoid that, you will use something called rolling updates. So in the case of rolling updates, what you can do is you will be able to specify a certain subset of hosts or nodes. Okay, so you can say, okay, I want to execute the configuration, or I want to configure nodes 2 at a time, or I want to configure nodes 3 at a time. Like that, you will be able to do. So out of 10, like if you have total 10 nodes to be configured, then if you want to say, specify, if you want to make sure that your update is happening, or the configuration is happening only 2 nodes at a time, then what you can do is you can use the serial keyword. So after serial, you can specify, say, 2, and it will ensure that Ansible will ensure that at a time, or in parallel, only 2 nodes are configured. Okay, and if you want to specify, say, 3, then it will ensure that at a time 3 nodes are being configured. Okay, and say, if you are using, say, 3 as the serial or rolling update, then say first will apply the configuration to the first 3 nodes, then to the second 3 nodes, and then to the third 3 nodes, and finally it will apply to the last 1 node, because you have 10 machines. So accordingly, it will automatically identify. So the batch size and the remaining nodes, all those things Ansible will take care of. Okay, now there is something called Ansible Galaxy. So Ansible Galaxy refers to the Galaxy website where users can share roles, and to a command line tool for installing, creating, and managing roles. So if your community roles will be available in a website called Ansible Galaxy, and that is the place from where you will be able to download your roles, or download any third-party roles. Or if you don't want to create your own roles, then you can download existing roles, and those roles will be saved, or those roles will be listed in Ansible Galaxy, and you will be able to download and install from there. Okay, and finally there is something called Jinja 2. It is the preferred templating language of Ansible's template module. It is a very simple Python template language that is generally readable and easy to write. So Jinja 2 is a modern and designer-friendly templating language for Python. So you only need to know that much. It is a templating language modeled after Django templates. So it is used when you are using templates in Ansible. Like if you want to replace variables while copying the files and all, at that time you will be using templates. And when you are using templates, you will be using a format called Jinja 2, and you will see what format is when we talk about templates. Okay, now installing and configuring Ansible, you just need to have first thing is you'll need to have Python installed, and once you have Python installed, you have to in Debian you can execute these commands to execute Ansible. You can add a new repository and just use apt-get update and it will be installed. For CentOS machine, you can use yum to install, and these are the commands that can be used. Okay, now we are going for some practicals. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 nodes. Okay, so I'll use docker run -p/80, say 80, then minus name I'm giving a say ends node 1. Then this is the image that I am going to use, Shogini / docker -ansible -ssh -node -ubuntu. So this is just an image with Python pre-installed and SSH also pre-configured. Okay, so I created one node. Now I'm going to create another node. Okay, and I'm going to create one more node. So what I have done is I have created 3 nodes. Okay, so now I have 3 nodes, and these are the nodes that I am going to configure with the help of Ansible. Okay, so first thing you have to do is you have to get the IP address of these nodes, these 3 nodes. Vivek is asking which one is the server. Vivek, none of this is a server. So for server, we'll be creating another container on the go. So whenever we need to require, we'll be using that server. We'll see how that is done. This one is only for nodes. Okay, so these are only nodes. These are the ones that we'll be configuring using your Ansible server. Okay, so now we'll need to get the IP address. So we'll use a -- format equals then dot network settings dot network dot bridge dot IP address, and then you can give the node names, and ends node 1, then ends node 2, and node 3. Okay, so these are the IP addresses that are allocated assigned by Docker for these nodes. Now Vivek is asking, so we have created 3 node containers. Yes, so we have created 3 containers which will act as nodes. Okay, now Akhil is asking SSH port we need not allow. So Akhil, see, this particular image has got SSH already configured. So SSH is already open in this particular case, but you don't have to specify, you don't have to map any SSH, because by default you don't need to map that. Like, you'll be using the destination machines SSH port, so you won't need to map any port for SSH access. Okay, so these are your IP addresses. And if you do docker ps, you can see these are the Docker containers running. So I'll get the IP address once again. Okay, so these are my IP address. Now first thing that you have to do is you have to create something called host. So I have inside this, I have something called host file. So there is something called host file, and inside that you will be able to create items like this. Okay, so like say, so here you'll be able to group your nodes. So here I am grouping, say, this particular IP address, which is ends node 1, this is node 2, and this is node 3. Okay, so you'll be able to group your IP addresses like this, or group your nodes like this. Okay, so I am going to create one more host group, which I am going to give the name as test. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to create disposable Ansible server. Okay, so for that I'll use docker docker run -rm, then I'll use volume mapping, because I need my configuration information, or I need my files that are there in my local machine to be there on my container. So pwd slash, like I have one Ansible folder, I will be mapping this particular folder inside my container. So slash etc, and this is the path where I'm going to map this particular directory. Okay, now Ajinkya is asking same host IP in two groups. Yes, Ajinkya, so this is just for grouping. This is just for grouping. Okay, so now if you use say web, then it will be applicable to these two machines. If you use DB, it will be applicable to this, and if you use test, then it will only be applicable to this machine. So you will be able to group, like if you only want to execute one command in say two nodes, then you will be able to use a group, create a host group with those containers, or those nodes. Similarly, if you want to have execute say another command in those two containers and one more container or one more node, then you can have another group with all those three containers. So you can have say n number of groups, and inside the group there can be overlapping of nodes, like one node can be in multiple groups. That is possible, that is okay. Okay, so now I am using port volume mapping, and this is the image that I am going to use. Say show me Docker, Ansible, workspace, Ubuntu. Okay, so this is the image that I am going to use. So this one has the Ansible pre-installed. This is an Ubuntu machine. Okay, so this is the command to create the container, which will act as Ansible server. Okay, so now I told you we are going to create disposable containers, because Ansible server need not be running all the time, right? Because there is no polling happening, so it can come up and execute the command and then go. So that is what we are going to do. So now we know that when you execute the run command, if you specify a command at the end, it will be executed. Okay, so that is what we are going to use. So what we will be using, you will be using the Ansible command. So when you want to execute an Ansible command, you will be using the keyword Ansible or command Ansible followed by all. Here this will specify the host group. So if you specify all, then it will be applied, this particular Ansible command will be applied to all the hosts or all the nodes. It won't distinguish between any host groups and all. It will be executed in all the nodes. Okay, so all minus m ping. So this one, what we are going to do is we are executing the module called ping, and in order to execute a module, you have to use the minus m flag. So minus m means module and followed by the module name. So what this will do is this will execute the Ansible module ping inside our three nodes. See, it has executed in the Ansible node 2, which has got this IP address, and you can give the success response. Then similarly, it has executed on all three nodes. Is it clear? Okay, now I want to show you one thing. See, in this is our current thing, right? So now what if I only want to execute this particular ping command in my say test group? So in that case, what I'll do is instead of all, I can give like this Ansible test minus m ping. So this host group will be selected. So it will only execute inside this particular node. See, it has only executed that module inside that particular node. So now if I want to execute in say these two nodes, then what I can do is I can use, instead of test, what will I use? Can you tell me what will I use instead of test? If I want to execute in say node this and this node, what will I do? Instead of, yes, we'll exactly again. So we'll be using the host group name web. So it is as simple as that. So you'll be able to group your nodes like this. Okay. So now you can see that our Ansible server is a disposable container. So whenever you need to execute an Ansible command, whenever you need to configure your machine, you just create the Docker container, execute that command, and after execution, the Docker container will be removed. So there is no headache for you to maintain an Ansible server. You can just bring up when it is required, and then it can be terminated. Okay. So this is what we saw. Then we saw this workstation. Then we saw how to create add nodes to a server. Like you'll be the file in which, like, we create on host file, right? So the file in which the Ansible nodes are defined is called inventory. By default, Ansible will search for a file by the name host. This host or inventory files are just text files that follows the below format and can be passed to the Ansible command as an as a parameter also. Okay, so by default it will take the host name the file for the the name for the file as host. That is why we haven't specified any file name, but we'll see how to specify a file name in the upcoming session. Okay, so the inventory files generally do not have an extension. Then host files can be used to define environments, group hosts, variables, and more. Okay, so this is a host. We saw how to create, then testing the Ansible. Vivek is asking, do we have 2 sessions for Ansible? And no, Vivek, we will be covering Ansible only during today's session. So today's session may be a bit extended, like that is why I'm going a bit fast, but we will be covering it in today's session. Actually, I was about to give the introduction about Ansible during last day's class, because since you all told me you want to have some rest, that is the reason why I'm taking it today. Vivek is asking, and next session will be the last session. Yes, Vivek, next session or tomorrow will be the last session. Okay. Now Akhil is asking, but if the Ansible host file change, then if we recreate server, will it make difference? No, as soon no, it won't make any difference. See, that is the power of Ansible. See, now in this particular case, I am creating a server, and after executing this command, that particular server is gone. This is a different server. This is a new server, but still I am able to use the same host file and all. So that means since I have mapped this particular folder, you are able to access, you are able to execute all those things. Okay. So that is why I say that in Ansible you will be able to create disposable containers as server. So now what we are going to do is you are going to test a playbook. Okay, so in my location, this particular location, nano Ansible, say there is something called playbook.yml. As I mentioned, playbook will have the extension .yml. So this is a uh, very simple playbook, and here you have the host. So here you'll be able to specify your host group. Like if you want to execute this particular task, you want to execute some tasks on say web host group, that means it will be executed on nodes with IP address 2 and 3, like we saw in that from the host file. And what is the task that is executed? It is going to execute the module, which is ping. The action is ping module, executing the ping module. Okay. Now, Vivek is asking, what is the needs for creating disposable container? Okay, Vivek, as I mentioned, you should need one Ansible server to push the changes to the nodes, right? So where will that server come from? So we are creating disposable nodes as the Ansible server. Is it clear? So you need one Ansible server to push your changes to your nodes, right? Push your configuration information to the nodes. For that, you need one machine, or you need one machine which can SSH to those nodes. So in our case, this particular container, this particular container that we are creating from this particular image is the Ansible server. So that is also a disposable container, means it will come up, execute the command, and then it will go. There is no need to keep that server keep and running. Is it clear, Vivek? Vivek is asking, so every time we need to create disposable server. Yes, Vivek, actually that is an advantage. Like you can have a server up and running, but that's of no use, right? Like in the case of production and all, whenever you need to configure, you can just create a server and execute the command. But if you're keeping the server running, then you'll have to pay for that server, right? You'll have to pay for that server space, then you'll have to pay for that particular server infrastructure and all. So in order to avoid that, what you can do is you can spring up a Docker container, or you can even spring up a new container, execute the command, and after the execution, that server can be terminated. There is no need for you to manage that server at all. Okay, but of course you can always keep the server, like if you want you can keep the server running, and inside that you can execute these commands individually. That also is possible. But here I am showing you this disposable container so that you'll know the power of Ansible. So this is where the real power of Ansible lies in. Okay, is it clear, Vivek? Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the playbook. So here also I'm going to spring up our container. Akhil is asking, where are SSH key files stored for server to connect back? Akhil, we are using support, like when you create, like in this particular case, this image has got SSH pre-configured. So when you are executing this command, it will automatically use the port to communicate this to this one. So when you use this one, you don't have to worry about that one. So only if you are using, say, key file, then only you need to worry about storing the key file. So if that is the case, then what you have to do is you have to create your key file, copy the key files to your nodes, and that things you will have to manually do. But in order to avoid that, you can execute directly like this. Okay, so here I'm going to execute the playbook. So in order to execute an Ansible playbook, you have to use the command Ansible playbook. Sorry, Ansible playbook, Ansible hyphen playbook, followed by the path of the Ansible playbook. You have to specify the playbook by playbook file. So here you see I am using the path which is inside the container, which is /etc/Ansible, and then I am using the playbook name. Okay, so now this playbook is used to execute the ping module inside the nodes which are under this web host group, which are these two. So you can see first it will identify which play to be executed, then it will identify the task. See, first thing it is doing is gathering facts. This is what it told. So by default it will automatically gather facts. You'll be able to specify you don't want to gather facts, but if you don't specify, it will automatically gather facts. Okay, so it is gathering facts from these two hosts, then it is executing the ping module on these two hosts, and finally it will show you the output, like what are things happen, like if it is success or failure, you will be able to you'll see a report. Now as I mentioned, you will be able to specify that you don't need any gathering facts happening. So in that, if you want to do that, then what you can do is you can add something called, say, gather underscore facts :no. If you specify this, it won't gather facts anymore. So now if I execute this playbook once again, see, now the second step, which is task gathering facts, is not being executed because you have specified that you don't need to gather facts while during the execution of this particular playbook. Okay, similarly, you will be able to change the host section, like in this one, instead of web, you will be able to use test, or you'll be able to use all. That's up to you, like based on the host group or nodes in which you want to execute this, you will be able to change that. Okay, so we saw how to test playbook. Then there's something called there is a file called /etc/ansible/ansible.cfg file. So this will determine the configuration. This is your Ansible configuration file. Okay, so I'll just show you that file. So ansible.cfg. So don't worry about this one. So this is a sample configuration file that I downloaded from Ansible website itself. So you'll be able to download this. This is the sample configuration file that Ansible provides. This is a URL from where you can get this one. So as you can see, this will have all the configuration information, like this is where all your configuration defaults, like variables, path, where everywhere is stored, roles, path, everything is specified. Everything will be there in this particular file. So if you want to configure your Ansible, like if you want to specify, okay, this is where my host file is. See, this inventory by default, it will take from this particular file. Okay, so similarly, if you want to change your default inventory to something else, then you can uncomment this and add that file name. Okay, so this is where you'll be able to do all the things. So nearly, and one more thing, nearly all the variables added in here can be overridden with Ansible playbook or command line flags. This is very important because even though we are specifying the variable, we are providing values for the variables. It can be overridden, like you will be able to override these variables in your Ansible playbook, or even in your command line execution you will be able to use command line flags to override those variables. Okay, now as I told you, we will be able to create custom inventory files, like host file. You will be able to create custom inventory files. So what I'm going to do is I have one custom inventory file created. So I'm going to create a duplicate. I'm going to duplicate this host file, and I'm going to name it as staging. Okay. So now I'll go to Nano, say Ansible staging, and here what I'll do is I'll be using. Okay. Okay. So this is my custom host file. Okay, so this is my custom host file, and this host file I am only adding this particular IP address under this host group, which is web. Okay, now when I'm executing my Ansible command, like I'm going to execute my playbook. So here what I'll do is I'll specify the host file also. If you want to use this particular host file, then I have to specify that host file. So for that I have to use the flag -i, then followed by the path of the host file, like /etc/ansible/staging. Okay, see now it will be executed in only one node, which is this particular node. See, this is how you will be able to pass the host file. Like if you are using that host, the name of your inventory file as a host, then it will be the one that will be used by default. But if you want to override, or if you want to make sure that your Ansible server uses your custom host file which doesn't have the name as host, then you will be able to specify like this using this -i flag. Okay, now I want to show you something else. Like, see, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to execute uh, remote bash commands. Okay, so now I'll show you that. So this components of Ansible, there are three major components of Ansible: an automation language that describes application infrastructure in Ansible playbook, which is in YAML format; then an automation engine that runs the playbook, which is your Ansible server or the Ansible software; then our Ansible playbook software, or Ansible software will have the Ansible playbook command as well. Then an enterprise framework called Ansible Tower that controls, secures, and manages automation. Like, see, but this Ansible Tower, it is the enterprise solution, so there is no free version available. So Ansible Tower is not part of this course. It is a web interface like hosted chef server. It is an enterprise system, and they don't have any open source version available. So we won't be using Ansible Tower, but we'll be using the other two things, which is Ansible language and the automation language and the automation engine. The automation engine is the actual Ansible server itself, which executes the playbook. Okay, now inventory, like you separate inventories for stages like testing, production, like that. Then targets an environment with the -i flag. Like if you want to create an environment, like you can create one something called staging or production or testing. Then you can add the nodes and the nodes that should act as production service under production environment, production inventory, and like that you'll be able to group your environments. Okay, but in this case, when you are using these environments, make sure that you are not overlapping. Like you can't have say same node acting as a both production and testing server. That is not possible. Or testing node, that is not possible, right? So but when you are using this, you have to make sure that you are not overlapping those nodes. Okay, so in my example I use the overlapping node, but that is just an example. in the actual production, you won't be using that one. Okay, so then testing, like first thing you have to do is test things first in staging environment before running them in production. Okay, now this is what I meant by host group. Like you can have your web service as a group, and you can have your application server, database server. Like this, you'll be able to categorize your hosts or the nodes. Okay, now we are going to see how we can execute shell commands, okay, or normal bash commands. Okay, so for that I'll be using the Ansible command, and I'm going to execute this on all Ansible all -m. For that also we'll be using a module. That is why I'm using this -m flag, and the module name is shell. And here you can pass parameters to a module with the help of -a flag, and here I can specify the parameter that I want to execute. So here what I'm doing is I'm going to execute the shell command named hostname inside all my nodes, and for that I am using the module shell. Okay, so uh, while that is happening, let me enter docker node 1 bash. So now I am inside my first container or first node. So here you can see when this is executed, it will give you the output. These are the host names. So if I do say docker ps, see these are the container ID. See this one 771017101, like so these are the container ID. So these are the host names. So if I execute the command, say host name, inside this one you will get that host name. So this output, like instead of executing like this, if you execute this, then the Ansible server itself will execute that and execute that particular command inside the node and give you the output. Okay, so here you will be able to do anything like say ls say okay, so say like there is something called ls/tmp. Okay, so this particular location is empty now, right? So what I can do is you can even do something like say uh, touch simple.txt. So here I'll specify the password /tmp/. Okay, so what this will do is using shell command you are creating a file. Okay, so now if you do ls minus, you can see that particular file is created. So you'll be able to execute any shell command using this particular module, which is the shell module. Okay, now we are coming to Ansible modules. Okay, so Ansible modules are the units of work that Ansible ships out to remote machines. Like any language that will return a JSON output and can be run via CLI can be used to develop Ansible modules. So modules can be implemented in any language, including Perl, Bash, or Ruby, or Python, anything. But like can leverage some useful common library code if written in Python. So if you are writing your code in Python or writing your module in Python, then since Ansible also is written in Python, you will be able to use some libraries that are already there in Python. Then modules just have to return JSON, like I mentioned. You can write in any language. Only thing is it should return a JSON output. Then once modules are executed on remote machines, they are remotes, so no longer running no long running daemons are used. So the files or the modules that are there, it will only be in the server, and after execution those files that are copied to that the nodes will be removed, so there won't be any residual files there in the nodes after the execution. Okay, so Ansible refers to the collection of available modules as a library. Then Ansible ships with a number of modules called the module library that can be executed directly on remote hosts or through playbooks. Like you can directly execute using the Ansible command, or you can create playbooks to execute the modules, and you can execute the playbook using the Ansible-playbook command. Okay, then user can also write their own modules. and these modules can control system resources like services, packages, files, or anything. Like it will be able to do anything. Okay, so like Ansible has more than a few modules built in, and you can find out more about them here. So if you go to this particular URL, you will see the modules that are predefined, or by default these are the modules that are there in Ansible. So here if you click all modules, you will be able to see sorry, you'll be able to see the list of all the modules that comes along with Ansible. So it's a big list. And if you want to say files module, you want to see files module, then you can see the modules that are related to files, like that. Okay, now if you go to this particular thing, if you go to this copy, and in this particular module, so if you go down, see these are the attributes and parameters that are there, and if you go down, you will see how you can use it in your playbook. Okay, so instead of playbook, you can directly execute the module also. So we will see how to do that. So let's do ansible /test.txt. So here this is just a text file that I have created in my local machine, and this is the content of the test file. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the copy command or copy module to copy this particular file from my machine to the Ansible, to the node, inside the node. Okay, so here if I do ls, you can see there is no file named test.txt. So what I am doing is I am going to use the copy command. Okay, so I am going to do it in all, then Ansible all -m, and here I'll use the module name, which is copy. Then if you want to pass the parameter, I'll use like this. Then here I'll use, see here in this case, you can have a source specified, SRC specified like this in the case of playbook. But if it is in command line, then you will be using something like SRC equals, then source you will be specifying like /etc /ansible /test.txt. So this is a source, then space. I'm going to specify the destination. Like, see, there is one variable called destination or attribute called destination. So destination, I am just specifying, okay, this is the destination where the file should be, this file should be copied to. Okay, so now what I did is I executed this particular module via command line. Instead of executing it via playbook, I just executed via command line. So all modules can be executed via command line and playbook. Okay, so see this test.txt is now here. So if I do say cat test.txt, you can see the file with the same content. Okay, now I want to show you the idempotent thing. So let me do ls -la test.c. So this is the current thing. So if I am if I am executing the same command once again, then nothing will happen because it is already the state is already met. So decide state. So here now you can see the change section. It is saying as false because there is nothing to change. The file is already there. There is no change to be done. That is why we say Ansible is idempotent. No, so now if I am making any change, like there is something called say mode, and I'm going to change the mode to say 0755. Okay, so now we are making some change, right? So now in this particular case, you can see the change state is as true. And previously the mode was 644, and now the mode is 755. So if I do ls -la now, you can see the permission has changed. So Akhil is asking any advantage of using through playbook. Akhil, yes, if you have your playbooks, then you'll be able to reuse that playbooks. Like if you have created a playbook, then if you have a similar scenario in another project, then you just need to copy the playbook and execute the playbook. But in the case of command line execution, you have to manually enter the command and execute that command. Okay, now Vivek is asking, do we have logs? Where can we check the execution? Vivek, this is the output. See, This output is your log. Like based on your output, you will be able to know like whether it is successful or failure. There is no separate log file because your server is not static. Like it can come and go. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, here what I'll do is I'll use save test. Then, like I mentioned, the setup, which is to gather facts, also is a module. So if you want to execute the setup modules on your own, then you can execute like this. I am only executing this on one node using the host group test. So it will take some time because it will collect lot of details. So see, these are the details that it will give. So there are a lot of details that you will see when you execute this one. So that is the reason why you won't be executing this manually, because whenever you execute the Ansible command, it will automatically be executed. Okay. Now let's proceed with the presentation. So this one we saw like host group, then one play. Then here you can see like you can have multiple plays in a playbook. So you can have one play. So here you can see host, task, and handlers for a one playbook. Sorry, one play. Then you can have multiple plays. Like if you want to add another play, then you can add the host section again and task section again. So there you can have like pretty much most of there are a lot of things that you'll be able to do with Ansible. Now, Ansible commands like um, executing a playbook. So the command that you use to execute a playbook is this one, Ansible-playbook playbook.yml. Now ping host, like if you want to use if you want to ping host, then you will be using the ping module. You will be using the setup to gather facts. Then if you want to filter the setup output, then you can use like this. There are a lot of commands, so you can go through this one. And and like someone asked like how to copy SSH key manually. For that you have to use this command. Like you will have to specify the key, then host name, that SSH name, and all. You have to specify the name and all. Okay, so there are a lot of commands that are there, or there are a lot of variables, or sorry, a lot of modules that are available. So you can go through that. I'll only be showing you some of those things so that you will get an understanding of how module works. Okay, then there is something called minus minus. Like if you want to limit the execution to some modules, some host. So I'll show you that particular thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute my playbook. Okay, so I'm using my default thing. So this will be executed on my host. So if I execute this, it will be the playbook will be executed on all those things like these two things, because inside the playbook I have specified the host group as web. So now if I want to limit the execution, like if you want to test to only one node or something, then what you can do is you can do something, use the flag minus minus limit followed by the name of the node. So here I am using like this will only execute this playbook on this particular say node within the web group web. Sorry, within the host group web. Okay, see, this is for testing purpose. Like you will be able to specify like similarly you'll be able to specify the host name also. Like if you want to execute, like you can give comma separate list. All those things are possible. So you can go through the option. There are a lot of options available. Listen be so, and see this node, like you'll be able to use conditions like negate. Like it will this if you specify like those, it will be executing to all nodes except for those nodes are there in this particular host group. Like that you will be able to do lot of things. Okay, then the syntax, this will be very useful for you. So here in this one, when you're having a playbook, then what you can do is you can execute the command like syntax minus check using this flag, and it will show you if there is any error. It will show the error, and if there is no error, it will say that it will don't give you any error. So I'm going to make an error in my playbook. So now I mentioned, right, like if you add if you remove a single space or add a space, it can give lead to error. So Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a space here. Okay, so I gave a space here, I saved the thing. Now if I do syntax check, you will see that there is an error. See, it is saying that there is an error, and this is the place where the error is. So using this particular command, you will be able to check or verify your Ansible playbooks before execution for any syntax error. Okay, so now this one we saw. Sorry. Okay, now what we are going to do is, so you'll be able to see a complete list of the commands in this particular URL. There are a lot of commands like tricks that you can do with your commands, and all those things will be there in this particular URL. Okay, now next what we are going to see is we are going to see something called roles in Ansible. Okay, so roles are units of organization in Ansible. Roles is like say modules in Puppet or plugins in Chef. So assigning a role to a group of hosts or set of groups or host patterns, etc., implies that they should implement a specific behavior. Like you can have a set of nodes act as a web server, or a set of nodes acts as database server, or set of nodes acts as application server. So it's just a directory that follows a structure. So it can have hosts, variables, handlers, modules, etc. So it is like your modules in Puppet. So there you will have a folder structure, and all those things that you want to have to act for a particular set of servers, to act as a database server or web server, you will be adding all those things inside that directory. Okay, so a role may include applying certain variable values, certain tasks, certain handlers, or just one or more of these things. Because of file structure associated with the role, roles became redistributed units that allow you to share behavior among playbooks or even with other users. Like you will be able to share the roles. You just need to copy the directory, and you will be sharing that particular role. Okay, so roles allow you to call a set of variables, tasks, and handlers by simply specifying a defined role. Okay, roles require the use of a defined file structure in order to work. So as per the Ansible documentation, this is what the file structure or folder structure will look like. Okay, inside your /etc/Ansible folder, there will be one folder called roles, and all the roles that you want to create should be within this particular folder. And there you can create your own folder, and that folder will act as a role now. So in this particular case, common and web service will act as two roles, and inside your web server, inside your role, inside your web server role, you can have folders like tasks. If you want to have execute, if you want to like this task folder will have the task that you are to execute for that particular role. Then defaults will have the default values, then metadata, templates. If you are using all those things, you will be able to have in this file or directory structure. Okay, so this is how it will look like. Now we'll see on sample playbook, sorry, sample playbook with roles. But before that, let me show you. Like I told you, right, Ansible Galaxy, this is where you will be able to you'll be able to get third party roles from this particular location. So if you go to search, sorry, so here you can see these are various roles, and you'll be able to search. Like if I want to search say Git, then I'll be able to see like this. And if I want to download a particular say role, then what I can do is I can just click that particular, like if I want to download and install this particular role, then I can click that role. And here what you can do is you can either download the file. So these are just file, these are just folder structure. You can download and untar the thing, or you can execute this command. See, Ansible Galaxy install followed by the name. So using this, you will be able to install the role in your machine. Okay, So before executing, you have to make one change, like inside the Ansible, you have the Ansible.cfg file, right? So here there'll be one variable called roles underscore path. You see roles path. You have to ensure that this is uncommented. Then only Ansible will know that okay, this is the default path where the Ansible roles reside. So if you want to change the roles path also, you'll be able to do like this. Okay. Now I'll do say tree Ansible roles. You can see I have this one there. This one I already downloaded. So what I'll do is I'll do say remove minus say rf say Ansible roles virtual env. Okay, now if I do tree, I have only one role. This is my custom role. We'll come to that in a bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the node, the mod role that I have just found here. See this particular role I'm going to install. For that, I'll be using the command Ansible-Galaxy. This is the command that you use to download and install roles in Ansible, followed by install. So this is the whole command that I copied. See, sorry, this is the whole command I copied. So if I execute the command directly, okay, so first it will what it will is it will download that particular role from online. See, it is downloading role from this particular location. So this is a location like GitHub. If you click, it will take you to that particular website. So this is the role that we are seeing. This is the role, and this is the folder that will be downloaded when you execute this command. See, now it is installed successfully, but it is just only installed. It has not been used yet. Okay, so now if I do say tree Ansible roles, you can see this particular role is now available with our Ansible server. Okay, now if I want to use this particular role, then what you have to do is you just need to create one playbook, and here you can specify your roles like this. Okay, you can just name, you can just give the name of the role to be executed under the role section. Okay, I'm not going to execute this one because it will take a lot of time to execute. So I'm not going to execute this one. So before that, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a custom playbook. So now I'm going to create a custom playbook. Okay, now I have created the playbook. So that is there in symbol underscore playbook.yml. So this is the custom playbook that I have created. So I'm now going to explain this to you. So first is the host, where you can specify the host group that you want to add this to. So I am going to add this to say test host group. I'll say sorry. I'm going to add to the test host group. Then become true. This means and remote user as root. So what this means is generally when you execute the playbook, if you don't specify the remote user, like become true means it will become the sudo user, and remote user you have to specify root, because by default Ansible will use the Ansible user. But if you specify the remote user like this, then it will execute the commands as root user. Okay, now here I am defining variables. So you can use this var section to define variables, and this will be the variable name and this will be the value. So I am using 3 variables, which is who does this description. Like these variables I am using, and I am passing these values for those variables. Then these are the tasks that I want this particular playbook to execute. I have one task. This is just to replace HTTP with FTP. This won't be required in your case. So when you are executing this playbook, just comment this section or remove this section, because this is to fix one error that is there in my system. Okay. So this is using the replace module to replace using regex to replace HTTP with FTP in this particular location. Okay, in the content of this particular file. Now here I am installing, like I am using the name like install Apache and using the apt get package, I'm telling Ansible to install the package Apache 2 and update cache. Yes means that apt-get update will be executed if you specify update underscore cache is equal to yes. Then statistical latest means it will ensure that the latest file, latest version of Apache 2 is installed. Then this is to install using this Apache 2 module. This is also a module. Like if you go here, if you go to this packaging module, you will see the apt module. See, apt module is there. So all these are modules. Okay, so don't get confused. This is some alien word. These are just module names. Okay, so here apt2 module is to create the URL rewrite thing. And finally something called notify. So what it will do is, notify means if you specify notify, then it is used to call a handler. Handler means like uh, you'll be able to reuse this thing. So now you want to restart Apache after executing different commands, right? So for that you will create handlers, and here I am giving the name of the handler as restart Apache 2, and the service it is using the service module, and it will ensure that the Apache 2 service is restarted. So if you do use notify followed by the name of the handler, then it will ensure that the particular handler will be executed after this particular execution. Similarly, PHP you are installing, and finally you are using the template command to copy, and the source of the template is this particular HTML file, which I'll show you, and this is the destination. I am copying this template file from my local machine to the Apache directory inside my node. Okay, so now let me show you that template file. So cat ansible tmp symbol web.html. So this is just a symbol template. Like I mentioned, this uses Jinja 2. So in Jinja 2, if you specify this within double curly bracket, if you specify one variable, then this variable will be replaced with the value that we are passing out, we have specified. So here I am using say three variables: title, then Ansible host, which is a default variable which will be there by default, then description and who. So these three, like title, description and who, these are the variables for which values I am already specified in this playbook.yml, and this one will be there by default. The Ansible server will get this, like when you execute the gather facts or gather setup, at that time you will get this particular value. So this particular value will be already be there with Ansible. Okay, now if I want to run the playbook, I just need to execute the Ansible playbook command. So here the playbook I am going to execute is this, sorry, symbol it is Ansible symbol web underscore playbook dot yml. Okay, so now this is executing those playbook. Where this asking, do we need to have passwordless SSH for Ansible to work? Yes, Virendra, because otherwise there will be cases like the password will be different for your node sender. So it is better to use the key file or the SSH for key file for SSH to work. Okay, so now while this is happening, this will take some time. So what we'll do is we'll take 15 minutes break now. So now it's 8:20. We'll be back at 8:35. Okay, while this is happening, let's just run the background. So we'll be back in 15 minutes.
जब ढूंढना रहती है तो अभी तक तो ढूंढ नहीं लेता क्या इतने, अगर अगर ढूंढना रही थी तो अभी तक तो ढूंढ नहीं लेता क्या? पेशेंस है तभी तो नहीं ढूंढी है अभी। मैसेंजर डाल ले, मैसेंजर, फेसबुक मैसेंजर से बात कर, अच्छा क्लैरिटी है। या व्हाट्सएप ही करो। नहीं नहीं, वीडियो कॉलिंग, वीडियो कॉलिंग, वो नरेन कर रहा था उसकी वाइफ को। चलो यार बढ़िया। और हाँ लगे रहो, ऐसा कोई वो नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, आपको प्रेशराइज नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को कल शादी करनी है ऐसा ऐसा है। आप हर बार ऐसे ही बोलते हो कि एकदम पेशेंस रखो, ऐसा है तो पेशेंस है मेरे में, ऐसा कुछ वो नहीं है। मेरे को कोई इतनी हाई तो नहीं है आप, इसलिए मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि आप है ना ज़्यादा आगे आगे रख के किसी को, मतलब जहाँ लगता है ना वहीं पे करना, एकदम आगे रख के बात, हर जगह वो भिंडे के यहाँ से आया क्या कॉल, कुछ भिंडे के यहाँ से? हाँ समझ गया तो। हाँ 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 हाँ। हाँ अच्छा अच्छा। हाँ, हाँ, अच्छा मतलब उनके यहाँ से है ना अभी पॉजिटिव? अच्छा। बट हाँ अब इसलिए मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि आप आगे रह के अब लगा लेंगे है ना, उनको तो उनको मत लगाना आप क्या
Hello and welcome back everyone. So before restarting the session, can you all please confirm that you can hear me well and see my screen? Okay, good. Now, before the session, I will ask one question. Like before the break, I will ask one question. Like, are handlers like CMD in Docker? No, Akhil. CMD in Docker has got different functionality compared to handlers in Ansible. See, in the case of Docker, CMD is used to identify which will be the process ID one, or which is a service that will be executed when you enter the container, right? But that is not the case with say handlers. So handlers, it can be like a macro. Handler is like a macro, so you can have something under a handler. Then what you can do is you'll be able to call that handler multiple times inside your playbook. So instead of having to write the same section multiple times, what you can have is you can have a handler, and you'll be able to call those handlers multiple times during your Ansible playbook. Is it clear, Akhil? Okay, good. So now, as you can see, our playbook execution is complete. So first, it's executed the gather facts. Since I haven't specified, say gather facts, no, it is automatically gathering facts. Then it will use the replace thing. It will execute the replace task first, then install Apache, then enable mode rewrite, then PHP module installation it will do, then copying the template it will do, and finally it is restarting the Apache 2. Okay. Now, inside this terminal, if I do I'm inside my Ansible node 1, which has got IP address as 2, then -l/var www.html. We can see the index.html here. If I do say cat this particular, you can see the variables are being replaced. Like the title variable is getting replaced, then description is getting replaced, the Ansible host variable is getting replaced, then who is getting replaced. All those these are already replaced. So now if I execute say call localhost, I'll be served with this particular website. Okay, so now my machine say docker ps, this is the machine. Like it is Ansible not one. Okay, this is the main machine, and this is the port mapping that is done from my local machine. So if I go to my machine and execute this, you can see that particular website is being served, and those variables that we have specified are being replaced with the actual value. Okay. Is this clear? Any doubt in this one? Any doubt in this playbook? Anyone? Okay, good. So now let's proceed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you roles. Like I'm going to show you the same thing. Akhil is asking this was using Jinja 2. Yes, Akhil, this was using Jinja 2. Okay. So the template, like that symbol.html, like symbol web.html. So this is using the Jinja 2 templating format, and here this title is replaced by this title. You won't be able to see it is inside the header, but this title is replaced with this I am me, which I have passed in my playbook. Then this Ansible host is replaced with the host name. Then the description is being passed by the playbook as well, and finally the who also is being passed by the playbook. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing with the help of roles. Okay, so I have created the role already. So here tree, if I do tree Ansible roles simple web, so this is a role that I have created for this purpose. Now, as you can see, this default file, you can either have this folders if it is empty, or you can't have. Like it is up to you. Even if you have that folder, it's fine. But if you don't want this, like if you don't have a file inside that folder, then you can remove that folder also. That is up to you. Okay, I'm just using this as a standard template so that I can follow the same steps every time. Okay, so here I have in my machine I have something called task. So the first thing it will go to is task. So task, there will be one file called main.yml, which will be the main task. Okay, so the execution of a role will start from this main.yml file. Okay, so let's see what the content, what's the content of that main.yml file. Task. Okay, so this is the content of my main.yml file. So this is, see here, I haven't specified any host or anything. I'm directly specifying what are the things that I want to do. Like I am replacing my thing, then this is this install Apache section. So I'll use a nano. So replace Apache session. So in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Apache update underscore cache as no, because I'm going to execute the same thing on the original thing, and I don't want to do the apt get update because it will take time. Okay, so I'm using setting that as no. Then rewrite all those things I have copied from the old one. Now here one more thing I have to mention is, like what I have done is I have created one more task. See, instead of using this template, instead of directly giving the task, what I have done is I have used something called import underscore task. So using this, you will be able to create import tasks from other files. See, now see, in this particular location I have two tasks, right? So what I have done is, so this is how you can create tasks. You can create YML file with different tasks, and using this import task you will be using this import task you will be able to add or import that task from those files. Okay, so import task will be used to import tasks from files, YML files. Okay, now if I do say nano and just create hyphen index.yml, this is just a template for YML file, and here you can see this is just the template thing. And here like using this, when you're using playbook, you'll be able to specify tags. Like if you want to give one tag for a particular task, then you will be able to use tag section like this. Okay, now one more thing I want to show you. See this template file, it starts with 3 dash. So this is a normal format. Okay, so whenever you start your YML file creation, you will be starting with 3 dashes, and then you proceed with the other information. Okay, so this one we saw, this create index we saw. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this war section. Okay, so wars main.yml file. So here I'll be able to pass the values for my parameters. Values for my variables. So here I'm specifying the value who as a RP test, then title as website title, then description new, then this one you can just ignore. This is just another variable. I'm not using this variable, so I'll save this one. And finally I'm going to show you this handler, and before that I'll go show you this handler section. So instead of this, I'll use handlers. And what is the name of the handler? The default main. So the default items will always have the file name as main.yml. That you have to keep in mind. Okay, so this is this handler which is to restart the Apache to service. Okay, now templates also I am using. So under templates I have simple web template, which will be the same thing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this particular thing. So in order to do that, what I had to do is first I had to create a new playbook with the role to execute this role. So for that I have created something called playbook with role.yml. Okay, see here, this is just a playbook, and here I am specifying the host and the user and role, and finally I am specifying simply the roles as simple web. This is the role that I have created. As you can see, that will be the name of the folder inside the roles section, roles folder. Okay, so I'm going to execute this particular playbook. So here instead of this, I use save with hyphen role.yml. Sorry. So it is executing the playbook. First, it is gathering the. Oh, sorry. I have to do one more thing. Like in this one, it is using web. I want to do it only on test. Okay. So I'll execute this once again. I just want to execute it on one. That is the reason why I changed the host group to test. Otherwise, that apt update and all it will take time. Since I have removed that, it won't work on the other thing. So as you can see, it is installing. Since everything is already done, it is just skipping, or it is just ensuring that the state is same, and it is copying the variable and template. And finally, now if I do go here, if I do say if I refresh, sorry, you can see the title is coming. Say host, it is using like this. So if I go to say nano simple web, you can see the title. Title I have used website title as the content. Then Ansible host is getting populated. Then description also, my new description is being coming, and who also API test is coming. So this is how you will be working with roles, and this is how you can execute roles. Sorry. Now one more thing I want to show you. I want to show you how to pass parameters when you execute the role. Like now we have used this variables, right? Sorry. Sorry. Please give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry about that. So in this one, we have used the variables, values for the variables from this particular file inside the wars folder. Now I am going to show you how to pass the variables when we execute the Ansible command itself. Okay, so for that, what I have done is I have created another playbook, which is like with role -inline var.py. Okay, so here, like inside your roles, you'll be able to pass the parameters. Like see, now I am specifying the role. This is the role I want to use, and I want to replace the variable value for the variable title with the new variable. So this will override the default values that we have specified inside our roles. So our new title will be new inline title. Okay. So let's execute this particular playbook. So -inline var.yml. So this playbook I am going to execute. So everything will be the same. Only thing is now I am passing the value for the title variable when I call that role. Instead of using the default variable specified in the wars folder, I am passing that variable value for the variable. Okay, so now I am going to refresh this. See here, you can see the title has changed from the old one to new inline title. This is how you will be able to pass variables to your roles. Is this clear? Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Anyone? Is there any doubt? Can all of you hear me? Okay, Akhil is asking which is the recommended way. Akhil, the recommended way will be to use variables like wars folder. But if there are something like if you are executing say this particular role or particular YML file or particular playbook on a test say test node, then maybe you may want to override some default parameters, like you want to specify, okay, this is for test variable, test functionality and all. So in that case, what you can do is you can pass the variable as like environment or something, a variable as test, and but at the same time you can use the same role that the original playbook, the production playbooks will use. That is one advantage using this one. So mostly in the case of production and in your automated thing, you will be using the wars folder. You won't be passing values inline. But if it is required, like in the case of testing and all, it may be required, and at that time you will be able to use it. So the recommended way will be to use the wars folder. Okay, so but that also will depend on the scenario. So basically there is no recommended way, like based on your scenario you may have to pass the variable. So it's like I mentioned, if it is a test, if you are executing this on test nodes, then you may have to pass the variable, pass the value. Otherwise you may not. Like that will be based on the scenario in which you are using it. Is it clear, Akhil? Akhil, is it clear? Okay, good. So let's proceed. This one we saw like how to. I just showed you a simple thing. So this is how you will create a role. So when you create, these are the default folders that will be there. If you don't want to use say files or default, you can just ignore the creation of those folders. But this is the standard set of folders that will be there in a role. Okay, so I showed you how to split your split your playbook into roles, how to have handlers in separate folders and all. So using this, you will be able, using roles, you will be able to sorry, you will be able to structure your configuration information. Then, as I mentioned, you'll be able to use tags. You'll be able to tag your resources. Then tags help organizing playbooks. Then tags can help in testing. Then you can run or skip parts of playbooks using like minus tags. Like if you want only to execute, or if you want to skip a particular task or task which has this particular tag, then you'll be able to do that. There are a lot of things that you can do with tags. So in that command section, if you go through that command section, you'll see other options. So it will be like this. So tags will be like this. Then if you specify say -t configure, then it will ensure that only the task with that tag as configure will be executed. So here only this task will be executed. Like that you will be able to use tags. Then using this minus limit also you will be able to use tags. Then minus tags or -t will be the same thing. You'll be able to use tags like this. So these are various ways in which you can tag. So tag will be like grouping, like it is another way of grouping tasks. This is a way of grouping tasks. Okay, the other one like hosts and all we have used to group say nodes, but this is for grouping your tasks. Okay, so Galaxy, this is the Galaxy. So Ansible Galaxy refers to Galaxy website where users can share roles, and a command line tool which is Ansible Galaxy, for it can be used for installing, creating and managing roles. Okay, so Galaxy is a free site for finding, downloading and sharing community developed roles. It is free, so downloading roles from Galaxy is a great way to jumpstart your automation projects. Then you can also use the site to share roles that you create. So you'll be able to use Ansible Galaxy, like you'll be able to upload your roles to Ansible Galaxy by authenticating with the site using your GitHub account. So the Ansible Galaxy account or each entry will be linked with your GitHub account. So the roles you'll be uploading to the GitHub account, and those roles will be imported from the GitHub account to the Galaxy, Ansible Galaxy. Okay, so the Ansible Galaxy command comes bundled with Ansible. So when you install Ansible, at that time itself, Ansible Galaxy command will be available for you to use. Okay, so the command to be executed will be like this: Ansible-Galaxy install followed by username dot role name. In our old example, what you use is, you have see here in this thing, this is the username and this is the role name. So username dot role name, that will be the format. Okay, so this one we saw how to download from Galaxy. These things we saw. Then this is how you'll be able to use the role. Then how to download roles from Galaxy, and while before that, what I do is this. So see, this is the task. So this is the role that we have downloaded, and now you know the structure of the roles, right? So the task will be there in this particular task folder, and inside task there will be something called main.yml, which will be the starting point. And inside main.yml, see, this is a big file, this is a complicated file. So here there are a lot of things, like see, see in this one, say when is used for conditions, like using like if this condition is true, then this particular task will be executed. Then you will be able to pass values, arrays, like multiple values using this with underscore item. There are a lot of things that you will be able to do. Then similarly, like when using and, you will be able to check whether two conditions are true before installing this. And one more thing we have to keep in mind is that in Ansible, there is no auto detection of package manager. Like in Chef and Puppet, you just need to mention that, okay, you have to install the package, right? Like based on the facts and OHI output, based on the factor and OHI output, it will ensure that the correct package manager is detected, right? But that is not the case with Ansible. You have to specify which package manager to use. Like if you are using, say, same playbook for, or same roles for multiple nodes with different operating systems, then you have to specify, like, okay, if the OS family is Red Hat, then do this. If the OS family is Debian, then do this. Like that, you have to manually do that. So there is no auto detection of operating system in the case of Ansible. You will have to manually do that. Okay, so this one based on how to execute a simple web playbook. Ajinge is saying he lost audio. So can you all please confirm that you all can hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so Ajinge, others are able to hear me. Please check your internet connection. Okay, so this one also we saw how to execute a simple playbook. Then this one also we saw how to create a simple playbook and how to execute that simple playbook. And there we saw how to install a web server on our nodes using a playbook, and how to browse it, and how to pass variables to that one. And we also saw how to use templates. Okay, so now one more thing, like when you're executing this one, like when you're executing your own playbook, or when you're executing your playbook in a particular node, what you can do is you can do something like you can /tmp. If you do, you will see some random values, like let me try to execute this one. So I'm going to execute this playbook once again. So while that is happening, I'm going to execute this one. um, see this one. See this one, just created something else. Like when you execute this one, Ansible will copy, say temporary, some temporary file will be copied from our server to our node, and after execution, that particular temporary thing, that residue will be removed. So after the execution, you can see that that particular thing is removed. So that is what I mentioned. So whenever you execute an Ansible command from a server to a node using SSH, server will make sure that the files that are to be executed is copied temporarily to the node, and after the execution, the server will ensure that all those files that have been copied are deleted. So all those temporary files that are used will automatically be cleaned up with the help of this particular example, or with the help of this by the Ansible server itself. Okay, so now please, as homework, please execute this command, because this, as you can understand, Ansible is simpler than Chef and Puppet, but there are a lot of things you'll be able to do. But only thing is, you have to ensure that your nodes will have Python installed and also should have SSH access. The server should have SSH access. You should try creating your own playbook. You should try creating your own roles and execute the playbook. So now you know that there are different ways of executing the same thing, right? Like using playbook, like inline modules, then using roles and playbooks like that. There are different ways. Okay. Now I want to show you something. So this one you should do as homework. So in this particular GitHub URL, you will have the files that are required to do something. So I'll show you that as an example, but only try to do this on your own first, and only if you are facing any error you should check this out. Okay. So first thing what I'm going to do is in my ls say /temp, sorry, ansible /tmp, you can see there is no folder. Now Akhil is asking, can we run inside intranet without regular internet? No, Akhil, see, those nodes should have internet access to install the packages or download the packages and install, right? So basically you will need internet access for installing the package. So once the package is installed, if your configuration is only applicable for things that are within the intranet, then of course you can do that. But mainly for installing the package and all, anyway, your nodes will need access to the internet. Is it clear, Akhil? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this particular GitHub. So github.com /principal playbook.git. Okay, I'm cloning this inside say ansible /temp and inside this particular format, inside this particular folder. Okay, so what this Git repo has is it has a custom template or custom website which you can try to deploy. Okay, sorry. So now the cloning is done. Now if I do say ls /ansible /temp tmp, you can see the custom WebKit folder is created. So inside this say custom WebKit, you can see this is the structure. So the playbook also is there inside that folder. So that you will be able to have the code also. So first of I'll try one. I'll tell you once again. Please try this on your own before using this particular playbook. Try to create your own playbook and see whether you are able to work with that one. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this particular folder. So Ansible move say tmp custom WebKit custom web folder. I am moving it to the folder above that one, which is inside the temp folder. Okay, so now if I do ansible /temp, you can see my custom web folder is now within this particular location. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain you the playbook. Okay, so nano custom, sorry, ansible custom web playbook.yml. Okay, so this one is similar. Here you are using say some variables, then tasks also you are using. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the host as say test instead of web, and also this update underscore cache I am using no instead of yes, so that I can save some time. Okay, so everything is same except for this section. See, in this section what you are doing is we are copying the directory. So now if we do say tree ansible /custom, sorry, ansible /temp tmp /custom web, you can see it is a sample website and it is it's a css folder, then images folder, then there is one index.html file. So this is a custom template, like this is like a custom template for a website, and I am going to deploy this particular template to my node. That is what I am going to do. So the source of the folder or directory here, using the copy, I'm going to copy the directory. So I am using the source of the for copying as this particular folder. This will be the source. So here, if we do say custom web, inside temp custom web, there will be one custom web folder. So that is the folder that will be copied, and this is the location where that particular folder will be copied, or the contents of that folder will be copied to. Then owner, group, and permission we are specifying. And finally, we are using the template, which is I have one template, like there is one template called custom web.html. So say nano ansible tmp custom web slash custom web.html. So this is the template. So here what I have done is, inside the body section, you can see here title, description, ansible host. I have used variables. Okay, so in this particular section, what we are doing is we are ensuring that this is the template source for the template to be used, and this is the destination location. So our current index.html, which we have copied from this location, will be replaced with this particular template, or the variables will be replaced with the values, and it will be copied to this particular location. And finally, using the handler, I am restarting the Apache to web service. Okay. So now I'm going to execute this playbook. So here I'll be using the playbook name, which is custom web hyphen playbook.yml. Okay, so now it's executing the playbook, then executing the play, then it is gathering the facts, then it is installing Apache 2, and after Apache 2 is installed, it will ensure that mode rewrite is enabled. Then PHP, it also ensures that PHP is installed. Then directory copying is going on. It will take some time because there are a lot of files. So it may take some time. So we are waiting for that copying to be complete. So basically all these files in that folder will be copied to that particular location from your local machine or your host machine, or basically from within your Ansible container, from your Ansible server. Sorry, from your Ansible server. These directories, the files, and all those, including the file directory structure, will be copied within the Ansible nodes. So once that is done, it is using the template to change the index.html file, and finally it is complete. Now, if I go here and say refresh this page, you can see our custom template website from our custom template is being served. And here you can see the AB title, then test description by Ansible playbook, and this host name. These are being replaced based on when we use the template. So these variable values we are passing using our playbook. Is it clear? So this is one sample of how you will use Ansible to deploy your application or website to your nodes. The similar examples we saw with Chef and Puppet also. So this one is using Ansible. Okay, so any doubt in the topics that we covered today? Anyone? Any doubt at all? If there is any doubt, then please ask now. Okay, anyone? Any doubt? Can all of you hear me? Okay, good. So is it clear? Any doubt in the topics that we covered today? Anyone? Any doubt at all? Like gather facts, how to gather facts, then how to execute setup module and all we saw, right? Now one thing, like I want to show you one thing, like now Docker run. I want to show you. Sorry, I want to show you something with the setup module. Okay. Ansible all, sorry, I'm only going to use this for test. Okay, test, then -m setup. Then I told you, right, when you execute this -m module, a setup module, and it will gather facts based for that particular host or particular host group. So here what I am doing is using -m or module setup. I am getting the details of that particular node, which is my Ansible node 1. So what you can do is you can use pipe less to see like step by step, like you'll be able to go through the list also. So once that list is populated, you'll be able to just use command the down arrow to or scroll to go through that thing. And once it is done, you can press Q. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use gather subset command. Okay, so here, like I mentioned, nar setup, I have mentioned, see, you'll be able to use gather subset with option to specify a subset of the full facts, right? So now there are a lot of values that you can have. So I'm going to pass the parameters, and here I am using, say, gather underscore subset equal to not all. So what it will do is it will only collect some important information, not all the information, only some important predefined set of information. So you can see that the length is considerably smaller because it will only collect some information. So there are a lot of things you'll be able to do similar to this one. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So any doubt, now you know how to create your own custom inventory file and how to make sure that Ansible uses that inventory file. Then we saw how to create, how to execute remote bash commands directly, how to use Ansible modules you saw, then how to execute playbooks, then how to use roles, then Ansible commands, then playbook syntax we saw, then Ansible roles, how to download Ansible roles from Ansible Galaxy and install that we saw. Then we saw how to create custom playbook to create a simple website, simple web page, how to create a web server using Ansible. Then the same thing we saw how to do it using Ansible roles. So all those things we saw. Okay, so this one, like as I mentioned, Ansible is currently one of the most popular configuration management tools because it is very simple to use compared to Chef and Ansible, because sorry, Chef and Puppet, because Chef and Puppet needs a server and it needs an architecture, but Ansible just needs SSH access. And if you have SSH access, then you don't need a server at all. You can use, say, your Docker instance to spring up disposable containers to act as servers. Okay, so main difference that you have to think about when you are thinking about configuration management tools like Chef, Puppet, and Ansible is Chef and Puppet are pull-based configuration management tools, while Ansible is a push-based configuration management tool. So Chef and Puppet will need agents installed on the nodes, but Ansible doesn't need agents installed, but it should have Python installed and should have SSH access as well. Okay, and one more thing that you have to keep in mind is that since a constant polling is not happening, Ansible doesn't require the server to be always up and running, but that is not the case with Chef and Puppet, where you should always keep your server up and running because the nodes will be constantly polling that particular server. And finally, Ansible, in the case of Ansible, the configuration information will be executed by the server itself inside the node. But in the case of Chef and Puppet, it will be executed by the Chef client or the Puppet agent, which will be the agent of Chef and client, and that will configure the node itself. But in the case of Ansible, the configuration information is executed by the server itself. Okay, now Akhil is asking one doubt is SaltStack also like Ansible or is it pull-based? Uh, pull-based. Akhil, SaltStack is like Ansible. It is push-based configuration management tool. Okay. So is there any doubt in the topics that we covered today? Anyone, or any difference that you need to see? Anyone? Any doubt? Okay, so if there are no doubts, then what we'll do is we'll wind up today's session. So class tomorrow we'll see an introduction about AWS. It will mostly a theory session, but there will be some practical, like some base things. I'll show you how it can be done. But tomorrow will be the last session. So please go through all the things, and if there is any doubt in any of the topics that we have covered, please ensure that you send me an email so that I can check and get back to you. Okay. So then that's it, everyone. Have a nice day and see you tomorrow. Okay, now Ajinkya is nothing just did. Ajinkya, that you'll get an email from Collabra regarding the date for that. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay? Okay, so that's it, everyone. Have a nice day and see you tomorrow. Bye.